Have you heard of the Origins mod? With it, you can play Minecraft as a snowman, or a ghost, or a piglin, or a fish, or a blaze, or so many other options. We use it a lot on the Dominion SMP, which is awesome and you should go check it out. But I wanted to push it to its maximum. So here's what we're doing. I loaded up over 100 mods, which added all sorts of new structure, new items, new bosses, and I'm gonna take it on with a random origin every 10 days. So I'm gonna transform from a blaze to a fish. I mean, I don't know, it's random, but you never know, that might happen. I can tell you're excited. Do me a favor, leave a comment, something along the lines of day 18 totally doesn't count, or how silly I was on day 79. Don't worry, both of those will make sense later. But now let's get started on 100 days with random origins, day 1. Before I could even check my origin, I was in the middle of one of these giant structures surrounded by skeletons on phantoms and just taking shots from every direction. I punched out some wood from the wall to create a basic crafting table and gear, hiding and just trying to peek around. The little particles telling me I was an Enderian, which would help a lot in finding my way out of here. I made basic tools and used my inherent ender pearl to jump from spawning into the wall to one of the bridges that was nearby, trying to look around for loot, but the mobs here were no joke. And being surrounded, I did the only sensible thing. I yeeted myself off the tower, throwing a pearl. Luckily, it hit the ground before I did and was safely able to land. From there, I headed down to a small graveyard, which was right underneath, having to work my way through some cobwebs, finding a book called The Arrival. That's not spooky at all, which talked about being in this world on day 102 and the dangers that they had experienced. I'm gonna have to try to do a better job than they did. Going down, I found some candles and some brewing stands, some wither skulls just casually sitting everywhere, a golden apple in one of the chests, and all of these structures. This gives you an idea of just how populated this world is. There's just pillagers who have taken over this one town. I tenderized a little steak as I was on my way heading south, finding an abandoned house with candles still lit, torches still on the outside, and water out front, which sucks because I'm an Enderman. I can't touch water. But eventually I found my way inside, finding a decent bit of loot amongst several of the chests, and decided this was as good a place as any to sleep for the night. The next day, I thought, the house is abandoned. If anybody does live here, they'll probably come back and I'll have to kill them. But I started trying to make it my own, putting up some different bits of storage, looking around and seeing what I had to work with. The field directly next to the house is just filled with wild boars, and those things hurt. So while I was looting a grave, I just did it from on top of a couple blocks, finding some diamonds, which was huge. Honestly, those boars are the most dangerous thing that I've dealt with right now. They hit for about a third of my health really quickly, and with only wooden and golden tools, they're really hard to kill. I ended up multiple times just having to purl away to the roof of my house, staring down at them to try to avoid them.
You win this round, pig, but I will come back for my revenge.
There was also this airship, which was right on top of the house that I decided to live at. And I threw a pearl seeing if I could make it, and oh no, I could not. So I just took the diamonds that I had found in the grave, made myself a diamond pickaxe, and you're thinking, wow, Legundo, you're so geared so quickly. Don't worry, things will get better. The next day, I scaled a nearby mountain to find a little bit of iron that was sitting in the side of one of the chests, working my way through and being chased by more boars, having to pearl my way off of the mountain, and then it started raining. And I can't touch water, so I'm stuck out in the rain, going from tree to tree, and then I just duck into a little cave, digging into more water, which hurts, while I'm just trying to cook up the iron and make food, while just running from tree to tree to tree, taking damage whenever I'm in between anything, just trying to make it back home so I could get the rain to stop. I made it into the house with only a few hearts left, having to dig in through the back wall before sleeping and going into day 4. where I found a larger graveyard a little ways off from the house. Inside was a bunch of bones, a bunch of amethyst, and other treasure and loot that was definitely going to prove useful. But the gravestone, I just made a little preemptive grave for the enemy that I had made so far. But I'm not really ready to act on that yet, so I'm constantly using pearls to just avoid the wars. Went home and banked all of the resources that I could, checking some natural tunnels that existed under my base, finding a bunch more iron and a zombie villager, which is honestly pretty huge. I made a quick boat, got them trapped inside, and torched up the area so I'd be able to, you know, keep myself from getting killed by what the hell is that thing? It's coming for me, oh my god, no! But I continued exploring and mining around underground. At least it can't rain underground, so that's good for me. Got my way down into the deep slate and then dripstone, finding a dripstone creeper, which you can only damage with a pickaxe. There's a ton of different mobs in this, including this undead one, which blinds you if it explodes. That's terrifying. But as I started to run low on torches, I'm trying to dig my way back up, and I keep digging into the water. And I can't touch water, because it'll kill me. I eventually found a dry space to dig up, reaching the ground right around the morning of day 5, accidentally throwing my pearl into the lake, and then doing it again, landing on this brief little island with only a few hearts, and just casually walking back to the house in shame, cooking up whatever food that I possibly could on the campfire. And I'm just sitting in the house eating rotten flesh in the middle of the day, trying to get back up to full health, when I started doing a little bit of farming. I had a ton of bones from all of the graves that I had looted, so I spent time just growing up some bread as quickly as I can, and then started fishing, trying to get all of the different monsters in the lake to eventually give me food. The first thing I picked up was a pufferfish, which feels horrifically on brand for me, so I just quit while I was behind. Day 6, I really want to go check out that airship. All of the loot in all of these structures is bonkers, so it can get me up to high tier gear pretty quickly. I made a cobblestone pillar trying to just close the distance so I'd eventually be able to pearl, but I threw one and it's still not enough, so I need to go higher. I mined and hollowed out about half of the island, expanding the porch so I won't accidentally hit the water right outside my front door, and then continued on the pillar. Just figured I'm not gonna bother with the pearl, I'm just gonna pillar all the way up to the skyship, when Phantom jump scared me out of nowhere, throwing me towards the ground, and I had to pearl to clutch myself with only like 4 hearts while I'm still sitting here on fire. That place is super dangerous! The next morning, I crafted up a bunch of ladders and then was attacked by the creepiest cousin to myself that I had ever seen ever. It's an Enderman covered in blood. It's almost as bad as an adapted Enderman. I put ladders all along the cobblestone pillar, running out halfway through and having to go harvest a bunch of trees before making my way up to the top, digging into the side of the building and seeing that this thing is covered in spawners. I worked my way out onto the wing to break one of the spawners and then headed inside, opening up the first chest that I saw, and whoo, that is a lot of diamonds. That's 48 diamonds, and a totem, and a bunch of carrots, and boots with feather falling 6. The place was also populated with a bunch of wither skeletons in diamond armor, and super tanky. Oh, and there's enemies with flame power bows too. So I got shot and set on fire and almost murdered right away. Boxing myself out onto the wing where I was only being harassed by regular phantoms, crafting up a full set of diamond armor with a ton of falling protection. I don't think gravity's gonna be able to get me. The wither skeletons riding on zoglins though, yeah, those are a little terrifying. So I went back down to the ground and thought I'll go back there at some point. The next day I was looking around on the minimap and saw this multicolored menagerie down in the bottom corner and figured with being able to run and throw pearls basically freely, I can cover that distance pretty quick. When I got there, it was a bunch of piglins wearing mushroom heads riding cows. The mod combinations in this is just honestly super weird. I worked my way through the space, just clearing out all of the spawners and checking out all of the different chests and barrels and everything else that I could find. This was honestly just hilarious. I loved this space, finding a diamond sword in one of the chests, which is huge. But in all honesty, some of the coolest things that I saw were these different player heads that were around, a beehive that was just placed there that I could use at some point. But by far the biggest find was the lodestone, which was just sitting here. Free netherite ingot-based blocks? Yes, please. As it started to get late, I found another one of those cottages just hovering over water. What is it with these houses and water? I looted everything that I could from the chests, which included a bunch of lapis and obsidian from the upstairs chest, which is a good start towards an enchanting table. But I crashed here, and the next day was my final day as being an Enderman. I was already kind of starting to miss it. I spent the start of the day getting home and taking my very full pockets and emptying them out into the chests, and I'm I'm just gonna tell you now, organization is pretty bad until like day 60 when I had a little bit of time to build a lot more chests. So, sorry. I spent the remainder of the day just killing all of the boars since I'm in diamond armor now and they're only doing like a half a heart of damage, before seeing a pile of cobblestone, digging into it, and seeing that it's a giant spider dungeon. This place is covered in cobwebs with spider spawners everywhere. I started working my way through back to one of the tunnels, finding another spawner at the end of one, and then a chest at the end of the next with a bunch of different potions inside, including weakness potions, which would let me cure that villager. But when I got back up to the surface, it was both nighttime and raining. So for the last time, I ran and purled from tree to tree, just trying to get my way back, getting to about half health from too much of a bath, blocking the door, taking a little bit of food, and heading to bed, wondering what I'd be in the morning.
Please don't be something that lives underwater. Please don't be something that lives underwater. Okay. Blazeborn. So I'm immune to fire, immune to poison and hunger. Oh, I can go kill those spiders now. I still can't touch water. And I'm an archer.
Well, since I'm immune to poison now, going down into that spider dungeon just feels like the right play. I worked my way down through multiple levels of it, breaking out all the spawners and finding another treasure chest with a golden apple, a fire protection book, which seems worthless right now, and a bunch more potions. It's worth noting that even in my second origin, I still can't touch water, except now I can't teleport over it, so it makes things even harder. I worked my way back towards spawn though, finding that camp that's right next to the giant windmill and the evil looking towers. That's also taken over by pillagers, so that's a little difficult to manage. I did find a power bow inside one of the chests though, so that was good to upgrade me pretty quick, and a ton of coal for torches and for cooking. I found this tower that had broken off and fallen over with a waystone in the middle of it, and that was gonna be really nice. I broke it to take it home, sleeping in the pillager camp, and the next day just trying to fight my way through the pillager camp a little bit before they all noticed me, and check out some of the other structures that were around. There was an abandoned and infected village also right around the windmill, so a bunch of farmer villagers with mushroom hats and hoes just tried to beat me down. Honestly, this place is really ridiculous. Inside the windmill was a bunch of enchanted gear right off the first chest that I looked at. And then a ton of witches and pillagers, where if you've seen me in a 100 Days video, you know witches are like my curse. Sorry, Joy. So I'm just, nope, I'm out of there. I did find a few copper golems sitting around and some copper buttons, which I checked out, deoxifying them a little bit, but they never followed me. So I had to come back and do this a couple times, actually. I did open a door and find the one normal villager amongst this whole place, and buddy, you gotta move. But my pockets were full and my food was starting to run low. I only had a couple steaks left. So I ran home, banked all of the potions and the resources, and then combined 2 power 1 bows to get a power 5 bow? Maybe that's from being an archer? I'm not sure. But I put down the waystone to finally mark this place as home. And then the next day figured it was time for a little bit more mining since I'd done all of the dungeons runs lately. I just tried to explore a lot of the caves. I wasn't putting torches down because I could see via the torch in my hand thanks to shaders, which honestly probably wasn't too smart. I did dig into a huge deep slate cave area with a chest just sitting there and, well, just watch.
That legitimately scared me. My mic was not on and I jumped. What the heck? That was terrifying. I thought that was gonna be loot. I was so excited.
Thankfully, the smoker, the campfire, and the jungle sapling were not mimics. I put little post-its on them to remind me that that was the case. I saw a little bit of lava that was directly next to it, and since I can just jump in, woo! Spending a little bit of time doing the most exciting, amazing thing, harvesting lava with an unenchanted pickaxe. That basically took me the rest of the day. So as I got back up to the surface, I used some of the obsidian to make a quick enchanting table, turning the attic into an enchanting space using the bookcases that I already had on hand to get some decent level gear. I was also attacked from a lamprey from out of the water, which just decided to bite me out of nowhere. Seeing that I could get looting 3 as an enchantment on my sword if only I got a couple more levels. So I thought, I'm immune to fire. What a better time to go to the Nether than now. And then it started raining and I had to run inside. So the next day I crafted up a golden helmet, popped that on, made myself a compass, went through the portal. The game was bugged, so I had to restart and go back into it, and then I was actually able to go through the portal. I was really worried. I had just broken everything with the mods somehow. But I used the lodestone that I had gotten from the mushroom village to just use a compass. I know I can use the mini-map for waypoints, but I don't know. This feels more fun for at least this first time into the Nether. There was just nether warts sitting around in some of these cooler biomes, so I grabbed a little bit of that before running into a Piglin tower, just a repurposed pillager tower. And since I'm immune to lava, I just popped a bucket down, took a bath in it, waited for everybody to run next to me, and just get immolated right away. That was awesome. There was a ton of gold and pork chops and enchanted gear at the top of that. And in a very nearby Blackstone little ruins, there was some rubies directly underneath it and a bunch of stuff in chests. That was just nice. Not having to bridge over lava saved me a ton of time on blocks, just being able to swim through the rivers of this place. In all honesty, this is probably the best play. But there's so many new biomes. Eventually, I built my way into a nether city. Now, this isn't a fortress. This is something different, and it had a ton of different aesthetic blocks and these chested drawers, which looked really cool, although they don't make a sound when you open or close them. That's a little weird. There was also a bunch of books here, and I thought I could get myself up to level 30 enchants. And don't worry, yes, I did forget to put looting on the sword before I did that. But the main thing I wanted to find was a fortress. I spent all of the day just running through different biomes before eventually I saw a little bit of nether brick and warp forest and started working my way through, killing a few of my cousins, just making my way up there. Now I'm immune to fire, so this is the best time to go blaze rod hunting. I ran my way through, eventually finding the blaze spawner guarded by a blaze guardian, the big daddy cousin that I was a little bit worried about. Now, this was just honestly just a huge fight because it couldn't set me on fire, so all of its attacks were relatively pointless. I was able to kill that and then start farming blazes for blaze rods to just get everything that I needed. I wanted to get a dozen, so I'd have a full amount and wouldn't have to come back here in case I had another origin that just couldn't survive in the nether at all. I was very worried about that. So I made a little blaze farm, made a little room, and just constantly ran around and popped them. I did that for basically the whole day, going into day 16, finding a ton more nether wart and a bunch of soul sand to be able to farm it, and then the second blaze spawner, and I thought, let me just kill the guardian here so I have nothing to worry about. You know what I said about none of their attacks being able to do anything? What? What the hell is that? You don't just spontaneously blow up somebody from 0 health? No. And I thought, what the heck? Instant kill from full health in diamond armor? Like, come on, modders, I love you. You make amazing things. You really do. You add so much to the game, but balance is not your strong suit. So I teleported back, grabbed whatever hadn't been set on fire, which was about half of the stuff that I had that I lost, and I figured that was a fair trade. Thankfully, I still had the blaze rods. I hadn't lost my god tier diamond boots. I did lose my diamond pickaxe and a few other tools, so that felt fair. It also felt like a hint to get the heck out of here. I bopped a few wither skeletons before yeeting myself off of the fortress, following the compass, grabbing a little bit of nether wart since I had lost everything that I had found before that point, getting to the portal, and then just getting the heck out of the nether. The next day, I was back into the overworld while it was still... The next day, I was back into the overworld right as it was the morning. So I spent a little bit of time organizing, using the chest of drawers to store all the nether materials, crafting myself up a new diamond shovel and a new diamond pickaxe to plant all of the nether wart and to start on some paths just to make the place look a little bit more lived in. I made the entire front porch out of oak instead of just random blocks that I had happened to find anywhere, throwing down some torches and making the whole place just feel a little bit more like home. Day 18, I headed off in another random direction just to explore the local area, finding a horror windmill with a bunch of those revenant skeletons just trying to nom on my face. And there was a lot of these things, and I forgot torches, so many undead mobs. I did eventually make my way in, breaking all of the spawners, finding an Eye of Ender in one of the chests, and some emeralds and wither roses on the other side. In all honesty, not amazing loot, but it was fine. I worked my way back home, avoiding all of the water, running back just in time for the sun to be setting. And on day 19, I banked all of the resources and then checked out one thing that I had gotten that I didn't realize was super cool the first time around, a pair of running shoes. Once I put these on at the trinket slot, whenever I ran, I really ran. I was really fast with this, which allowed me to run around and grab resources, avoiding all of the boars. And I had a ton of wood, and then I remembered, oh yeah, that's right. I have a zombie villager down in the caves that I can go do something with. So I spent a little bit of time waiting for it to turn to night before breaking the boat and just leading them up through the tunnels while they tried to nom on me, making my way up as it was dark, plopping down the boat, and just moving them up to the surface. I'm not going to cure them now in the middle of the night because there's way too many mobs around and they could potentially get bit. So I'm going to go to sleep, and that's a problem for the next Gunda. And when I woke up, oh, what a problem it was.
Okay. Alright, cool. Wait, can I? I can hide under here. I get to fix it. This is gonna be so much fun. Wait, does this mean I can go in water? I can finally touch water. It's been 20 days and I can finally take a bath. So I'm an Inchling lumberjack. This is huge.
I'm the thief. No, seriously, if you haven't yet, go watch the musical episode of Dominion Only. And if that doesn't convince you that that series is amazing, nothing will. And, well, just enjoy this 100 days.
Oh, you. I can cure you now. Get you cured up right away.
But I was also a lumberjack, which solved the main problem that Fixit has, being an Inchling on Dominion. I can just chop down an entire tree by just bopping the bottom of it. So I spent the whole day just getting myself a big stock of wood of every type. And the perspective on this is so weird now. My house feels like a mansion. Chests are way taller than me. The things that I had planted up on sides, I need to jump to get to. And boats are absolutely worthless to attempt to ride in as an Inchling. But with my now cured villager, I quickly pushed them back into a room and trapdoored them off, just so no mobs could get to them before taking a nap for the day. And honestly, the next day, it really sunk in how much the changed perspective is really going to change this gameplay. I had to build just with random fence posts to try to go up and get some leaves and fell some trees that didn't really work right away. But being able to finally go underwater, I was able to get some flint and make my first fletching table. And all of that sticks that I had just made were really gonna come in handy. I figured since I was tiny and since mobs wouldn't really notice me too much, it might be a good idea to head back to spawn and do some more raiding on all of the structures that I could find there. And I was right. None of the mobs really noticed me until I hit them, and I could just camp up on the ladder and get away with it. I did accidentally trigger the self-destruct button though. Thankfully, the machine on the other side of the building, that just gave me a ton of emeralds and gold, so that's a plus. Don't mind the crater. I worked my way up towards the upstairs and outside, and just not being able to be noticed was awesome. I found my third diamond sword with different enchants, finding again that one villager who lives right here next to all the awful things and stealing their bed. The next day, I just had to run home, and the grass being taller than me it's kind of disorienting. It really is. I get where Fixit's coming from, that this point of view can make Minecraft just kind of weird to play. Spend some time banking all the resources. I have over 2 stacks of emeralds now, so I'm feeling pretty rich by villager standards. Throwing in all of the gear because I have more than I could possibly use. But I just wanted to head back and keep looting to take advantage of basically being in stealth mode. Since I could climb up the walls, I grabbed a bunch of blocks and just climbed up the side of one of the towers, not having to worry about ladders or anything else like that, and being able to dig my way in a lot quicker. A lot of these mobs just did not notice me, but I only have 5 hearts, so I have to be really careful, and I mean really careful that they don't, because I'll go down hard if they do. I spent most of the day and night of 22 as it stormed outside, just bowing down mobs and running from spawner to spawner to break them before I was even noticed, getting a decent bit of loot. My pockets were full as I ascended to the top of one of these towers, and I double checked my origin just to make sure this was a thing before jumping off and landing. Now, I nailed the water clutch on this, but I wasn't gonna take damage anyway, and that scared at least 3 of you, so I'm kind of here for that. I made my way back home, banked all of the treasure, and I'm starting to feel like more of a dragon than an inchling with how much I'm hoarding, before going upstairs and checking a little bit of enchanting, forgetting that I had missed out on the level 30 enchant. I tried taming a donkey, thinking that this would honestly look pretty ridiculous, but I can't see where I'm going if I'm in first person. In third person, I can just see their butt, and I can honestly run faster with the running shoes than the donkey can. This is a fun experiment, and now I've tamed a donkey, but in all honesty, that's kind of just silly for me in my current design to try to keep them. So I just leashed them up. Fun way to spend the day. On day 24, I remembered being a lumberjack means I cut down a whole tree by breaking just 1 block. And I thought, old growth spruce, like the big tall giga spruce trees, I can get so much wood so quickly by being a lumberjack. So I ran over to that, chopped down a few trees, and then found a spruce pyramid, which had wooden pressure plates, which are far easier to trip accidentally. Guess I'm not getting any of the loot from in there. I came across this house with invisible skeletons in chainmail armor and was just able to casually sneak past them quickly. Finding a set of feral claws in one of the chests that increases my attack speed, that's cool, and a bunch of diamonds, obsidian, and a map, which would lead off to some random giant dungeon structure off in the distance. I slept in the woods and made my way to the coast, where I was kind of left with a difficult decision. I could swim, or I could ride in a boat, both of which would look ridiculous. So I chose option C and just went back to the base to resecure all of my resources. From there, I just started swimming, making my way to another one of these houses, just sleeping there. Before eventually thinking, yeah, let's try the boat. And in third person, I can see practically nothing. I mean, look at me. My head is just barely above the top of this thing. So in first person, it's worthless. I just used third person to sail away, finding another smashed down tower, grabbing another waystone, and then finding a village, which this is huge. Now I can warp between the two of them at just the cost of a level. I jumped into the ocean to head towards another tower with another waystone potentially on top of it. And I was stung by a jellyfish, which blinded me. That was honestly kind of scary in the moment. But I climbed the tower, grabbed the waystone on top, jumped down, since I could just do that, finding this giant mushroom structure at one point. That's what the map was pointing to. And this looks like it could be a lot of fun. The next day, I realized it wasn't actually pointing to that. It was pointing to a copy of the giant towers at spawn. And since I had one of those at spawn and I barely even scratched the surface of it, I figured, no, we're gonna do the mushroom thing instead. This seems a lot more fun. So I warped home to empty out my pockets for the inventory, finding a wandering trader out back, and sorry, Mongo. I warped back with the waystone, and stealth mode here was awesome. At one point in time, one of them shot at me, but I was so tiny that it hit the mob behind me, and it was just all-out mob civil war, and that was hilarious to watch. I pillared up towards the hanging chest, the first one, which just looked like here's where the best stuff was, and I was right. Yes! Oh my god, I can't believe that was here. With a god apple just casually sitting in one of the chests, yeah, you knew I was looting this whole thing. I found a bunch of diamonds up on the top floor, hiding underneath the tables to prevent them from being able to get me while I would just bite at their ankles and loot all of the different chests. At one point in time, though, I did get down to 2 hearts, where I panicked, ran, jumped off, yeeted myself, landing on the beach, running and seeing just like some horseshoe crabs that were almost as tall as me. It reminded me just how tiny I actually was. From there, I ran back to the waystone, warped back home, banked all of the resources, and framed the god apple. That was such a huge find for such a short-lived world. I had also, and I forgot to show this, at one point found these aqua dashers, which that solved the whole boat problem for me because I can run on water. As long as I don't stop sprinting, I can run on water. That's huge. I walked over to the village, found a few of the guild masters, and grabbed a bunch of emeralds to pick up both the fishing and lumberjack professions, where I have to turn in supplies to be able to just immediately get more emeralds. Lucky for me, I also have these forester villagers who will sell me logs for emeralds, and I can literally just buy what I need and then get it back and turn a profit. There's also a house here that looked somewhat abandoned. I walked in and it was trapped. Lucky for me, I could just climb over the log to escape, so I figured, nope, that's enough for today. And I just took a nap here in the village. The next morning, I just kept doing trading. Now, I know that there are several of these origins which can only breathe underwater, so I figure it makes sense to spend a lot of emeralds investing in this oceanographer to try to get a trident roll at the absolute top tier, which is something that I can get. I ran back home and used my, I'm guessing basically at this point, ATM to trade sticks for emeralds. And then I realized that with the travel, I'm losing a level every time, so it seems kind of silly. So I made another Fletcher here in the village, buying up a ton of sponges and just enjoying the fact that I can business my way through practically everything. And then realizing that this is the last day that I'm an Inchling. I'm about to become full size again, so let's see what's about to happen. The next day when I woke up, I was full size, and, well, check it out.
I'm fast? I'm fast. What? I have sparkles. I know what that kind of trade is. I'm a business, whatever I am. Truffle. So I can switch between spores. Red is offense, green is defense, blue is speed. Food is decomposed before it's consumed, nullifying any status effects you would otherwise gain. So that probably means like golden apples and stuff don't work. Also, a merchant. Ah, this is so good. So, being a merchant right now is huge. It means that trades don't destock if I'm the one trading with them, meaning I can trade infinitely, meaning I'm about to get a whole lot richer on the emerald front. So, with all of those emeralds, I was lucky enough, the oceanographer did roll for a trident, and I was able to pick that up really quickly, along with the components for a conduit if I would ever need one. And then it was time for a casual bit of kidnapping. First up was the nitwit, who the village would probably thank me for this later, getting them out into the water, and then the next day, moving one of the spare oceanographers, figuring I could just breed them to make the third villager where I need, where I started making a little bit of an iron farm just outside of the outskirts of town. Now this is a slightly different design. I've seen it in a few places, and it's just like a really early, really basic version of it. But I waited until it got night, used my trident against a bunch of skeletons. Oh, I forgot, I did enchant it somewhere. I think I might have lost that footage. Before grabbing a zombie in a boat, just getting and preparing the whole iron farm together. The next day, I threw a bunch of bread to the two of them, who were maybe too scared to make a baby. That could potentially get weird. And then threw down a bunch of buttons to spawn-proof the area that I could eventually have, you know, golems dying here. I used a bunch of signs to hold in a little bit of lava, you know, D on one of them. I don't know why those letters are all there. And then at this point, I slept and we're just waiting for the villager to grow up. I spend a little bit of time in speed mode with being able to run on water, which is so cool, and I keep accidentally turning my shaders off every time I go to switch spores. I did run back to check if there was a baby, and they made an escape attempt, which that could have gone really badly, but I was able to sneak them back in and then just close them up. And I just kind of stood here waiting for a little while, just waiting for that villager to become old. This is the kind of live, exhilarating, amazing content that you all are tuned in for. Me standing in a hole, waiting for a kid to grow up.
Near the very end of the day, on night 33, they did eventually grow up. So I broke down the dirt barrier, killed a bunch of zombies that had actually spawned in the farm or fallen in at one point, and then ran back towards the village, sleeping there. Checking back in on the iron farm on day 34, and things were actually starting to make progress. The only thing is, I had to make sure to keep my render distance high enough that that would remain loaded while I was at the main village just doing a stick to log to emerald loop, which was net positive on my part, meaning that I was going to be able to get pretty rich pretty quickly. If you want to see more about how this works, go watch my Dominion episode 2. I'm a businessman over on that server as well, and being able to be a merchant is really, really powerful. I also used it to buy all of the logs to complete all of the guild chests really quickly, making a smithing table, knowing that I'm about to get unlimited iron, so I could start trading that for more emeralds as well. And that was the whole day. The whole day was just business, no pleasure. Day 35, I leveled up the toolsmith, trading in a ton of the iron that I had for over a stack of emeralds. And then using that to grab a bunch of diamond tools from the same character, so that way I could finally be off of iron altogether. From there, I used the fact that I could both speed my way through and have the running on water boots, and I'm pretty much the Flash at this point, running around the ocean, hitting up all of the different monuments for emeralds, gold, lapis, and finding a treasure chest that I grabbed for some diamonds and another heart of the sea. There were portals and towers, all with middling loot. Another drowned who had a trident, who they didn't give me one. It's okay, I can buy them. We have tridents at home. And then on day 36, doing a quick little turnaround to be able to pick up my spare waystone. You can craft this one-time use item, which will let you warp to a waystone. So I was able to pick up the one back at the mushroom area, crafting a new set of diamond armor and enchanting it, getting some relatively good enchants on all of them. But you know what? We're over a third of the way through this video, and I don't know if my next origin is going to be able to even survive in the end. So it makes sense. I'm super fast. Let's go find a stronghold. And I'm not kidding, with the running boots and the speed from my Truffle origin, I am super fast, like ridiculously fast. So I'd already cleared half the distance to the stronghold right before the sun even set. On day 37, passing by more ruined towers, a stone brick version of an igloo, and another one of those houses with the invisible skeletons in it, just looting whatever I could. I ran by graves. I saw a village with a giant dojo in the middle of it, which just had a ton of mobs and spawners that I needed to break to be able to clear everything out. And I rewarded myself with a cookie, because cookies are delicious. Day 38, I'm just continuing running to try to find the stronghold. These are really far out with the better strongholds mod that I had installed. So I passed by a pirate ship, and a Vindicator dang near jump scared me, taking me down to a heart and a half, where I just had to sneak in through the bottom and break the spawner so that more wouldn't jump on me in a 1x1 tunnel. From there, I looted everything and then kept running on water, which is just such a cool power when you really think about it. Finding my way through the frozen biome, through more towers to grab more waystones, grabbing an honestly really awesome book with Impaling 5 on it for my trident, and finding a giant zombie crypt where I threw a waystone down there. I honestly don't know if I ever came back here. But eventually the eyes started pointing down, and I started digging down, digging into one of these better strongholds, and quickly setting up a waystone and sleeping, going into day 39, where I banked everything that I had collected throughout my trip, like 4 days just running across the world, hitting up multiple different structures. I was basically out of food, so I spent the whole day just preparing enough food that I could be ready for a dragon fight, and then doing some end city looting. And then as the sun was starting to set, I'm going over my inventory, my armor, my potions, everything else that I possibly had, and I realized I'm gonna change again. So here's hoping my next origin can survive in the end. All right, what am I? I know what I am. I know what I am, because I can see my arm. I'm a slime! Bouncy, this is the best. We gotta bounce. I gotta show you all how this works. This works. Bounce! Alright, so I don't have to worry about fall damage when it comes to the dragon fight, so that's actually kind of nice. I worked my way back to the stronghold and then just started searching through it. Now there's a ton of different chests and structures and rooms and spawners inside of these places when you have the better strongholds. They're just so cool to explore. I did eventually find the end portal, setting up a waystone immediately in front of it, throwing in all the eyes, setting my respawn point here, lighting it, and let's go. Now, I spawned so ridiculously far from the end island. This is the furthest I've ever seen it. Thankfully, I had enough blocks. If I didn't, this whole video would have been over right there. I pearled onto the end island, and while the arena definitely looks a lot fancier, and it is, the overall mechanics of the fight are relatively unchanged. I did work my way up to one of the towers at one point, so I'd be able to hit that crystal and a few of the others that were relatively close around there. Being able to just jump down without a care in the world is honestly pretty great. Oh, time to bounce. Ditto for when the dragon just throws you up in the sky. which she kind of does a little bit more with the way that this is all laid out. I'm not sure if that's a bug or a feature. So since stabbing was kind of off the table, I had to rely on my archery skills. Thankfully, a pretty good shot. I left the dragon egg here for now because defeating the dragon, yeah, that's a huge milestone and a big step, but it's not what I'm really here for. You know me, I'm gonna wanna fly. The outer end islands, though, are not just barren wastelands. There's so much more lush and activity and different interesting things to explore, including this ender mineshaft, which I found at one point being swarmed by endermites, which were coming out of a spawner. I thought that was a shulker that was gonna shoot me at one point. Turns out, no, it's just a shulker box. 2 of them with a bunch of different resources. That's already one big thing checked off. As I made my way out of that mineshaft, though, I found this strange ruined portal. It's half complete with these pillars around that you could put items onto. I threw whatever random things I could think of on several fish, chorus fruit, chorus plants, but nothing seemed to work. That's a mystery for another day. But next step was to crank the render distance up to 32 chunks and take a look at the minimap, seeing if I could find an end city anywhere nearby. Thankfully for me, I had a pretty good direction towards one of them, including an ender tower, which I needed to explore. Using a bit of pearls, a bit of blocks, and a bit of bridging, I was able to make my way towards the tower, getting myself up to have an end waystone, as well as a few rockets in my pocket, making my way to find a few of my cousins from the end who tried to bite me. Not cool. I finally made my way into the end city around day 43. And while bouncing does make the parkour a little bit more complicated, thankfully it makes the falls pretty much trivial. I worked my way up through the end city, fighting all of the shulkers, killing them for shells, and got ridiculously high drop rates, as well as some decent loot at the very top. But the main thing I wanted to go see was that ship that I had marked. And then there was a whale just chilling. Look at the space whale! Ah! They're so awesome. I really hope that that thing is not gonna oh, it disappeared. Oh, it's behind me. It teleported. Space whale. Space whale aside, I bridged over towards the ship, killed the one final shulker that was standing in my way, looted the chests, grabbed my wings, stored everything into the shulker boxes, and instead of having to fly home, I had a waystone. So I popped that down and was able to warp home, saving my progress in the outer end islands while heading in for a nap. The next day, it was just going through all of the loot from those end cities, and there's a lot of decently enchanted diamond gear here, and I'm running out of chest space to actually store it in. So I spent a little bit of time just flying around thinking about maybe there's another structure I could take over, seeing this tower over here, digging in and going from the top to the bottom, which definitely kind of undermines some of the challenge of it because you have the high ground. I was able to work my way through, finding an kind of creepy enchanting room, working my way down, grabbing a bunch of coal blocks, finding a bunch of spawners in a little maze, and I torched up a few instead of breaking them, just in case I decided to move to this place. Honestly, having a few skeleton spawners right there is kind of nice. But that took basically all day, and then I thought, you know what, we can do a little bit more organizing over here. So I made some more rockets, and I remembered I'm a rancher, so it makes sense to do a little bit of things, you know, with these mobs so that they'll always birth twins, meaning I can create so many cows, and I have a villager stuck in the pen to kind of watch them forever. I saw another one of the abandoned houses and then remembered my lesson. I'll let it blow itself up instead of me. But I just kept flying around, exploring all of the different structures and areas that the world had to offer, without having to worry about fall damage. Being able to bounce is kind of nice. I flew through multiple cities and a pillager camp, finding another village camp around a very spooky looking well that had a bunch of kind of creepy looking particles down in the bottom. I tried throwing a few things in, you know, thinking make a wish and everything, and it gives me haste when I'm inside it, but I have no idea where this is supposed to lead. I threw in a gold ingot and nothing happened. So I went to a nearby windmill structure and just returned to my looting ways. And then I found a map which led me off towards another Pillager camp where I was able to just kind of hide inside a little cobblestone box and work my way from tent to tent, finding a harvester and a bunch of other resources. This thing explodes. I'm not sure how this is actually designed to work. I slept in the attic of a nearby house, being surrounded by pillagers the second I woke up. They were very much here for me. Luckily, I had bees. The bees weren't really cutting it though, so I just kind of stabbed them through the door, flying in, finding a mushroom relatively close by. I warped back home, realizing I had forgotten a diamond chestplate somewhere along the way. I think I banked mine, being able to warp back, and nothing had spawned because, you know, spawn radiuses. So I just went in, snuck in, grabbed all of the different redstone components from there, and then grabbed the waystone, took a quick nap on top of the mushroom, went to a nearby pillager tower, and figured, let's get Bad Omen. Let's do a raid. I'm actually in a relatively good spot gear-wise. It's time to get a totem, because somewhere along the lines I had lost mine. Like, I didn't break it. I just lost the totem. I don't know where it went. I think I might have accidentally stored it in a loot chest somewhere when I was organizing. Unfortunately, there were no pillager captains, so the next day I figured, you know what? I can fly, I can bounce, so I can jump off of it if I really need to. Let's check out that airship that's right above my house. Now, there's wither skeletons with flame bows riding on hoglins, and this place is crazy dangerous. But lucky for me, I'm actually pretty dangerous myself. Tons of diamonds and loot amongst all of the chests until a phantom got me down to 1 heart, and I just yeeted myself off again before I could regenerate and then return back to it. I was attacked by a couple children, but between my gear, the golden apples, the potions, and other things that I had found, I was feeling pretty good. I went back towards spawn and realized one of the airships here at spawn was basically the same structure, so I knew how to fight a few of the mobs. This one had way more spawners though, so I had to be super careful. I also tried to clear the spawners from the tops of the nearby towers, but this dungeon was probably the most resilient out of all I had found in order to crack it, and my elytra broke, which didn't really help. Thankfully, again, no fall damage.
What? That was 2 solid minutes of the most dangerous enemies I've seen in all of Minecraft. What the heck was that? And then my elytra breaks. Ooh. Alright, well, I guess I'll run home.
And that's what I did. It took the rest of the day to get home and to get myself back into some modicum of safety. I banked what I had collected, got a pair of night vision goggles, which is going to make the rest of this video honestly really bright, which is kind of nice. But then it was time to change again, so I went inside and headed to bed.
Oh, why do I have bubbles? Why do I have bubbles? Why do I have bubbles? Oh, no, 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 oh, no, oh, no. I'm a fish. Oh, no. There's a zombie at my door. Okay, hold on. I'm a fish, Gundo. Merling. Oh. And, okay, cleric. That actually can help. That's actually pretty good. But a fish is a problem.
Well, that kind of changes my objectives for the next 10 days. Now I can only breathe underwater and I suffocate on land. That really changes the game for me. I grabbed a lot of resources out of the barrels, just try to get a little bit of everything so I could carry it with me, because this house is basically worthless to me for the next few days. I walked over to the village, which was by a bunch of water, and then just started swimming out into the ocean, seeing what there was to offer. There's a whole school of sharks nearby, jellyfish that once again stung me and blinded me, which was kind of unsettling, but being able to loot sunken ships and grab treasure maps and then just dig out the treasure from underwater is honestly kind of cool. I can see why Mongo enjoys being able to be Fishman. I slept under the waves and then continued searching around, finding a sunken mine shaft that the actual mine shaft portion of it was a bubble of air, which didn't really work for me, but there was a huge pocket of diamonds right next to it, and that very much worked for me. I found another waystone on land, swimming all the way back to the village and finding a ravine that was completely flooded right next to the village, and this kind of works as good as anything else. So I started digging my way through. I have aqua affinity, but I really have to flood this. Considering I'm digging into a wall, I'm making an air pocket, so it took a while to just get a bunch of water into it as well, making a waystone and sleeping here as we were starting on our underwater journey. I was originally going to set up an enchanting space over here, and then I realized that I could just flood the attic of my house. So I ran into the village to grab as many logs as I could from the forester, just to get myself enough to make a few more bookcases, crafted up a new set of diamond armor, and I'm just looking for a few specific enchants now. Aqua affinity, that's pretty nice. But unfortunately, the water blocks the books for enchanting. So I have to basically enchant really quickly, and then before I run out of breath, throw more water on top of my head, and doing that loop several times to get the high tier enchants I wanted. From there, I warped back to the underwater and made myself a quick anvil to finish off the last little bit of repairing and combining for enchants. And I'm feeling a lot better, although feeling very disconnected from everything I've set up for the last 50 days. So basically now when I want to trade with villagers, I have to stand in the well in the middle of the village and then quickly run, find the one that I want, trade everything I can with them, and then quickly run back, just standing in the well. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I have an oceanographer, and I got all of the components that I needed for a conduit. So I went and I quickly went to the base and built the first level of a conduit. Because of that, I can breathe on land. But also, I'm a cleric, which means I can make some super strong water breathing potions, which for me are breathing on land potions, meaning I can actually manage to do a little bit of trading with the villagers, sleeping in the well, because, well, you know. So I was able to solve both of the problems relatively quickly, and I drank a quick potion, and I had 16 minutes, taking this one, who was copying me living in the water, and figured, you know what, let's try to get mending. It's the last enchant I really need to be able to get anything going. All of my gear is relatively good. The only problem is it would break. I got mending within like 6 trades, so my 16 minutes of water breathing felt pretty redundant as I filled my inventory with 10 mending books, which is more than enough to enchant and repair all of my gear and get myself set up. The thing I was mainly down on though now was levels, and I figured I'm underwater, I can breathe underwater infinitely. The best chance I have is to go find an ocean monument to be able to do some XP farming. So that's what I did. I sailed off through the ocean with that trident that I had collected, being stung by jellyfish repeatedly, just trying to find any underwater structures that I possibly could, specifically looking for guardians that I could kill. I found another one of those buried mine shafts, which didn't really have a lot. I found a spawner, which, thinking back now, I shouldn't have broken and should have just farmed. There was some decent loot in the chests. I also found this huge caldera of lava just sitting out on the ocean, which seems like the antithesis of anything that I would stand for. But then I found a bunch of pirate ships frozen in the ice, stuck here in the glaciers, and this was a lot of fun. Because one of the first barrels gave me a flint and steel, which gave me an idea.
Your Honor, I swear it was like this when I found it. Don't you question me.
I'm not sure in what lore mermaids just set boats on fire and are underwater aquatic arsonists, but I'm more than willing to play that role. It was kind of my go-to strategy for both of the boats that I encountered, and they had a ton of loot on board that I was able to get from, you know, burninating everything that lived inside. And then I turn around and right next to it was an ocean monument. And the first room I encounter is a sponge room. That is absolutely huge. But with the trident on board, no need to worry about air bubbles. I was just quickly skewering all 3 of the Elder Guardians, making this temple basically mine. It took a while to wait for mining fatigue to finally wear off. I slept in the middle of it to just get it to go away before grabbing all of the gold blocks and all of the dark prismarine, which is my favorite block ever, as well as all of the sponges from here in the temple, just to be able to fully loot and collect everything. I found this amazing stone skeleton with sea lanterns embedded into it. I'm not sure what this was supposed to be, but it was pretty massive built into the glaciers. But not being able to breathe on land was honestly pretty delimitating, considering all of the different structures and dungeons and everything else that I put in this mod pack, they're all on land. So I focused my time and attention on things like collecting buried treasure, being able to just flood myself while grabbing diamonds out of chests. And with all the prismarine on hand, I went back and fully completed the conduit, getting up to level 3, so I could spend some time just improving the house. I was running out of space, so I blew out the back wall and started building an extension that I could use almost exclusively for storage room, as I did a bunch of trading with the foresters back at the village for wood, and then leveraging the fact that I could breathe on land thanks to the conduit to just continue with the style of the house that was here and just build it out, make it look like a natural extension. The whole idea was I was going to make a large grid of double chests, which would be more than enough to store basically everything I could want as far as all of the loot that I had collected, as well as an upper area that I could just put some different cosmetic things into. But losing track of time, I realized I had just spent the last 2 days of my fishman personhood with a conduit, thankfully, on land, building out my house, and it was time to change again.
Okay, I have an emerald, and I'm holding my armor. Oh no. I see wings. I know what happened. I'm an Elytrian. I already have an Elytra. Okay, well, I can fly. I take way more falling damage. I'm a wandering trader. Basically more experience, which is kind of nice. But the big problem is I can't wear my diamond armor. That's a bit of an issue.
Welp, all of the last time that I'd spent investing in my armor kind of seemed worthless right now. So I spent a little bit of time just crafting myself up a basic set of gold armor using some of the enchanted chain shirts that I had found throughout fighting all of the mobs, and enjoying the fact that I could fly again, considering I didn't have to worry about repairing an elytra. I spent a little bit of time breaking down some wood just so I could build more chests, but in all honesty, between crafting the armor and then crafting chests and starting to organize things into different categories that were actually all labeled, that was all of day 60 spent right there. The next day, I started by just drying out all the sponges, just kind of for inventory management so they'd be easier to move around, and then realized I needed a bunch more logs. And then when I looked at my ender chest, I had some, which was convenient. I planted up all of the bamboo, went quickly back to the village to just breed up a few more cows to be able to make more bookcases. I accidentally released the villager there. No! But I went back to the iron farm, collected over 2 stacks of iron, so that's doing its job kind of nicely. I needed a bunch of glass though to be able to finish out the windows, so I just found the first patch of sand I possibly could, mined all of that up, and then did some quick rounds of buying the logs from the forester and then trading them to the guildmaster for more emeralds than I spent. These y'all don't really know economics. The next day, it's just organizing, really. I'm planting different bushes around the house to make it look a little bit more aesthetic. I'm planting candles everywhere so it all looks nice, and moving the inventory and items from the side room off to the actual back storage room. I crafted up a second bow so I could fully repair my bow with power 5 because I don't want to lose that, and then made another ender chest so I could move things pretty quickly from one place to another. Plus using a few shulker boxes to get everything nice and neat and organized. Like I said, day 60 is when things actually start being kind of nice. But now it's time to do a little bit of potion brewing. I'm no longer fire resistant, so a potion that lets me do that is going to make our next little trip a little bit easier as I headed off to the Nether. Now I'm wearing gold, so I don't need to worry about the piglins fighting me, but I did find a wandering trader just kind of stuck here in the Nether, so I helped them. Before going and flying, heading back over towards the fortress, to be able to pop down a waystone and be able to get blaze powder whenever I need it. I quickly grabbed the return to sender advancement completely accidentally before flying off and finding a Blackstone pyramid. And I've seen this one before. That chest was trapped. So I grabbed all of the TNT, finding just a casual piece of ancient debris sitting right here next to me, and a ton of gold and other resources in the books. A lot of these are really good. I also found a whoopee cushion. And I spent quite a little while just trying to figure out how to make it work. And it didn't really seem to work on whenever I wanted it to, but you're gonna hear it just casually for the next couple days, so don't worry, I do get rid of it pretty quick. I did the portal and went to the overworld, finding a little bit of diamonds and a little bit of gold, both of which were really nice to have, but in all honesty, there was not much there. So the next day I was back to the Nether, running around to all of the different structures, grabbing different blocks of gold, coal, and finding another one of those pyramids, disarming it and grabbing all of the loot inside. That portal also led to a bunch of underground caves where I was jump scared by one of those evil skeletons and just, nope, no thank you, I'll go back to hell instead. I made my way over to a bastion, planting myself in a place where nobody could reach me, but I could bow down all of the brutes and then my gold armor would take care of the rest in making sure we were good. I looted all of the chests around here, grabbing everything that I possibly could, finding another spot that had a piece of ancient debris just buried inside of a bunch of sandstone bricks. In all honesty right now, I'm just flying from nether structure to nether structure to grab all of the loot and do all of the treasure stealing that I've been doing in the overworld primarily. And since I don't have to worry about elytra durability, it's definitely kind of nice. The only thing I need to make sure is I don't run out of rockets. But I eventually got back to the waystone and warped myself back home because I never actually put a waypoint at the portal because I had the lodestone compass for that. And the next day, it's just dropping everything off into all of the chests and trying to make sure that it stays relatively organized. I did build a few of the new cosmetic blocks, like these wood walls, which are just like walls, but made of wood, and they helped make the place look a lot more lived in. From there, I flew over towards a giant stone structure that I've been seeing on my map, and it was like a giga stone temple where I found my second god apple, a ton of different gold blocks, and then right next to it, an oak woodland mansion. And I figured, you know what? Just quickly break the window, bop an evoker, get a new totem since mine had disappeared somewhere, and oh boy, did I blow that. Oh, that was too close. I thought I got him. Oh, crap. That was too close. And they're still alive. Heart and a half. Heart and a half surrounded by Vexes. I'm terrified.
Oh, heck no. Heck no. Heck no. Oh, no. That is too many. Let's just fly away so they all despawn. Okay, real quick. Get the totem and get out. We have what we're here for. We're gone. Oh!
The new totem in hand, I cleared out another mushroom type dungeon. This one was filled with poisonous spiders instead of brutes with mushroom heads on. There's definitely a lot of variety with all of these different dungeons, and they're a lot of fun to just work your way through. The next day, I put mending on my regular Elytra. I don't need it now, but once I no longer can fly from my origin, it's definitely going to come in handy. Made a whole bunch of rockets so I'd be able to fly around a little bit more, and then returned back to the end. This time, I was going to be doing a little bit more looting. I turned the shaders off because the end doesn't seem to like my shaders. Landing in a shadow forest, being tracked by all of the things that were trying to kill Doctor Strange, I think, before grabbing a bunch of glowy crystals, and that's honestly pretty cool. There's this huge, like, end warthog which tried to kill me. Bows are really overpowered, in all honesty. Flying through all of these different biomes, it really makes me hope that we get an end update. And then I saw a sunken ship and... oh, well, okay. I guess there goes the totem. These end towers had waystones and Flight 3 rockets, you know, the fancy rockets, which helped me get towards the top of a few different end cities, mining for shulker boxes, and getting a few different things, including a flamingo floaty. Near the top of one of these end cities, I found a crystal heart, which would increase my maximum health if I put it in replacing the magnet that I've been using for so long. I did, and it's 5 extra hearts. That is massive. And those 5 hearts came in handy as I worked my way towards another one of the repurposed Pillager towers, this one being surrounded by phantoms and shulkers, making my way then to another end city where I found a lot more of these different artifacts in chests. They're making the loot really a lot more interesting, if harder to manage. I popped an Abyss Watcher to return back to the home and empty out the shulker boxes, which had become completely full. I have so much music from the end, so many mixtapes that needed to get dropped. But on day 16 ice, I had seen a new type of structure off on my minimap, and I decided to fly over. This one wasn't hostile. It was a huge city, just city. It was a villager town that had been built with this amazing dark prismarine and oak sort of style. And in it, it had a map that would honestly take me almost a full 10 days to clear, but I didn't know it at the time. I flew as far as I could, finding this massive pagoda, just 10 levels of combat and carnage, and so much stuff already just in the chests on the top. There was just endless streams of wither skeletons with diamond swords and spider heads, creepers of all different types. And then I walked around the corner, there's a bunch of archers standing on the ceiling shooting me with punch bows. This place is gonna be a lot of fun. And then I remembered, you know, to turn shaders on ever since I got out of the end, but I was out of time. It was time to head home and go ahead and change again. And when I woke up the next morning, I was in for a surprise.
Okay, no breathing. Or anything like that. Am I transparent? No. Okay. Do I have a power? Oh! I'm magical! Oh my goodness! I'm an evoker! 10% pillagers don't like you and pillagers. Oh no, my villagers hate me now. Ooh, Archer is gonna come in really handy.
Archer was definitely going to come in handy clearing out this giant pagoda, so I quickly just repaired and replaced my bow and put on my diamond armor since I can wear that now. Feeling a lot more durable, I started working my way through the different corridors, finding gold blocks inside of obsidian and a ton of spawners. I did at one point spawn an iron golem using an artifact item, and then remembered, oh yeah, that's right, iron golems and villagers hate me. So that could have been really, really bad. And if there's something true about these 100 Days videos, it's making just constant combat really interesting. There are so many different rooms, so many different puzzles, and so many mobs in this space. I broke probably close to 100 spawners in this structure alone. It was really, really something, just constantly working my way down from room to room to room. And if I had come in here in anything less than full diamond gear with 5 extra hearts, especially when I walked into this one space where there was like, I kid you not, 15 different wither skeletons conga lining to try to eat my butt, it would have been really devastating. Those things hit hard, and the wither ability, that's really painful. But the loot in here matched the challenge, finding another god apple, all of the emeralds, diamonds, and gold I could possibly carry, to the point where at one point I needed to dig out the side of the wall to just figure out how far down I had made it, and I'd barely been 2 floors down at this point, but my pockets were full. So I slept up on the roof, flew back down to where I was, reorganized all of the loot amongst several different shulker boxes, crafted a few extras, and then just returned back to the grind. This dungeon was a lot of fun, and you're gonna see it for basically this full 10 days, unfortunately, because I just kept fighting my way through all of this, and there were so many mobs. The problem I had, though, is as I reached down to like only 3 floors remaining, is I was out of arrows. I had nothing on me. So I grabbed all of my emeralds, and I figured, let me go over to my arrow telling machine so I could just get everything I wanted, and they wouldn't trade with me. And then I remembered. Oh, that's right, you hate me. Oh no, they hate me. I can't trade for... Oh no. I can't trade for arrows because they hate me. And my armor is struggling right now. Oh, wait, I have mending books. All right, so that's going to be a problem. I quickly went and just repaired my armor with mending books so it would last a little bit longer. Checked all of my shulkers and just, nope, nothing. Looking for my trident to try to find it. Since I was out of arrows, I could use that, and that would be an infinite resource to be able to just bow down things from the ceiling. But unfortunately, I just couldn't find it. I have no idea where I'd lost it. That's twice I've misplaced something now. So I found an artifact that would allow me to summon a dog, which was great, just having some extra combat assistance. But not being able to archer the ones on the ceiling, that was really honestly kind of tough. I fought my way through several Philza killers, kept breaking spawners, and eventually, 3 full Minecraft days, over an hour IRL, I was able to clear down to the bottom floor, being surrounded by the horror mobs on every side, so unable to sleep until you find just the right corner. Day 74, I'm just cleaning out the last little bit of loot from this space as I continue to really secure it. There was no door, so I just kind of had to dig out of the wall on one side, finding the occasional mob still standing on the ceiling that I had missed at one point in time. I went up to the ceiling to mine out a full stack of dark prismarine because it is my favorite block, before continuing to just look around in the local area surrounding this pagoda and seeing what could happen next. I found a scarf that would increase my looting chance, and then landed in a pillager camp, getting ready for a fight, and then remembering, oh wait, they love me, so they're not gonna mind as I just walk around and check out all the treasures that they've stored throughout their looting and pillaging. I found several different artifacts, including a scarf that would just straight up make me invisible 100% of the time. And that is so ridiculously busted, but I love it, so I immediately put it on. Then the blood moon rose, and the night was about to get pretty interesting. You see, you can't sleep when there's a blood moon. It's far too spooky, and there's a ton of extra mobs which spawn. Now, I'm at a place where I can just stand up and they can't get to me, and despite their best efforts, I'm in near god tier gear, so the damage is not really super bad. It's more about just being overwhelmed that I had to worry about. The ghouls and other monsters, the horror mobs, were probably the hardest hitting. And then at one point I saw an orc just randomly come down the hill and try to attack me. Now, that doesn't mean much right now, but missing that orc pelt that dropped, that's gonna be super important later. But I had to fight my way through the whole night, flying over a village, which, again, if an iron golem even even saw me, it was going to try to kill me right away. And finding another one of those weird wells with the smoke at the bottom. Yeah, nothing is at the bottom of these. If you know what happens with these, please let me know. That didn't stop me at the time from digging all the way down on day 75 and finding basically nothing before I found a map which led me to a giant mining colony, which I had to dig my way down into, but oh man, did this terrain look really awesome. And the loot inside, you get the drill by now. There's a ton of stuff in all of these different dungeons and structures, but a ton of spawners and mobs to make sure that you're really going to be paying for it. I found a couple different unique pieces of armor. On top of the different artifacts, there's all these different things that you can collect. And you know it, another god apple sitting in one of the chests. That made for 4 or 5 at this point. I don't really remember exactly what. You know what the scariest part of this thing was? When I saw creepers riding on top of skeletons' heads, and the skeletons had speed boosts so they would run at you at full speed. Full-on kamikaze bombers in Minecraft. That's ridiculous. I kept looting the mineshaft through all of day 75 and into day 76, getting several stacks of gold, several stacks of diamonds at this point, and just storing it all off into one shulker. I'm casually richer than I've ever been in basically any Minecraft world I've ever played. Once I flew up, I just watched a boar just yeet a sheep. It wasn't a pink sheep. I would have interfered, but I did avenge it. Don't worry about that. I found a waystone, quickly named it, and then warped my way back home to bank all of the resources that I had been collecting. And my chests, even though I started trying to organize these things, are already looking pretty full. So you know what I thought? Let's just flex my wealth. I know there's no one else in this world, but you know, Hermitcraft is doing the whole diamond tower thing, so let me make a diamond tower. Flew around my local area a little bit more, finding another house that looked to be a fishing village, and inside was potions of luck. Was that Dunamancy? That's really interesting. Did I get some critical role in my Minecraft again? Seeing the sunset and just taking a quick little beachside nap with the sun resting at the bottom of my feet. Flying back around the area, just continuing to explore since I have near infinite rockets at this point, I found another one of those dojos, making my way in and breaking all of the spawners. Since it was daytime, this one is actually a little bit easier. Since I have so much health, I can just kind of tank hits for some of the lower level mobs. From there, I saw an airship up in the sky, which looked super imposing. Found a tower, which I was able to just quickly mark to add it to the portal network, and then made my way in towards a castle. This was a witch's castle, apparently. And witches, they love pillagers, so I'm totally fine. I can just walk around this thing. I don't even have to fight any of the mobs. I can just break the spawners and loot all of the treasure. The only thing I had to fight here was a few skeletons in the basement, and just grabbed all of these little potion heads and things to decorate my place. From there, I flew up to the most intimidating looking airship yet, and oh man, was this one pretty ridiculous. This is wither skeletons riding on hoglins with diamond swords, and the loot matched the risk. Another god apple sitting in one of the chests, potion brewing ingredients, and just, this place is terrifying because when you think you're out of range of the ones who are riding hoglins, yeah, the ones riding phantoms sneak up behind you and try to kill you. Another one! That's 5 god apples that I found. These places are cracked for loot. Oh, jeez. Okay, that's a problem. 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 But I kept doing strafing runs, flying out and then flying back in, trying to jump on any of the spawners to be able to break them before different waves of mobs could be spawned. And I found 6 netherite scrap just sitting in one of the chests. I thought that was the best it was going to get until I started working my way towards the center deck, breaking off one of the spawners, and while the mobs were chasing me, I found 3 netherite ingots and a god apple in a single chest at the top of this thing. That is ridiculous level loot. Are you freaking kidding me? Another one? And 3 ingots? I am going to be in full netherite by the time this day is over, if I survive. Whoa! This place is scary. When I got home to bank all of the treasure from this run, that's when I noticed a huge mistake I had made almost 10 days ago. I just noticed that my trident was right here. I was looking for this when I was clearing the pagoda. I just couldn't find it. I looked in every chest that I have. Wait, I'm still invisible. I looked in every chest that I had and I couldn't find it. It was just sitting in my inventory the whole time. Okay, well, at least now I solved the whole problem of my trident being missing, but I spent the rest of the day just labeling and storing everything in all of the chests so it was all organized neatly. And you know, 80 days into a world is about the time where you want a basic storage system. But now it's time for a new Gundo to rise on the next day.
Okay, my health went down. That's a bee. Am I a bee? I'm a bee. I'm a bee! Stinger, when you punch someone, they get poison. When I'm near flowers, I gain regen. Oh, and I can float. Okay. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I eat golden carrots. I'm okay. Beastmaster. I'm a Beesmaster.
My first thought was, since I have all of this netherite and I can wear it in this armor level, that's actually the whole reason why I waited. I made all of the netherite ingots I could and upgraded all of my main armor and my main tools, a sword and a pickaxe, to netherite. From there, I flew back to spawn and figured these airships have been amazing for all of the different loot. Let's check out this different style that I had seen right here. This one appeared to be all redstone based, with the skeletons having like a very steampunk kind of vibe with the heads they were wearing and all using gold or leather armor. They did blind me at one point, which was a little concerning, but in all honesty, it was relatively easy to clear, and I have a full shulker of just redstone components for whatever builds I'd want to make in the last 20 days of this. And then there was just a small bit of a problem.
Okay, I'm really upset with myself. So here's what happened. Here's what you missed. The disk that I record to was full, but I didn't hear the notification, so I just lost the last maybe about hours worth of recording. This is the second time this has happened. This is frustrating. And I can't go back and do it again, right? I can't go back and do it again, but let me just show you where we went. There's this underwater, buried looking asylum place. It's just nothing but husks everywhere and tons of spawners. Come here, you. And it's all underwater, and my bow has cobwebs on it now, which is a thing. But the thing to know is that these things are filled with ridiculous potions. I'll go back home and I'll show you what these things are filled with. I've looted all of these. I've looted all of these. But this place was a nightmare to just navigate around and get through. It's all flooded, so I spent 3 days just walking around this thing, because this is probably the most ridiculous to navigate out of all of the different structures we've seen so far. And you get none of it because the recording failed. And if I just did it again, it would be super boring, and I want to get this video out on time. There's like a jump scare out of this that you just need to see. So we'll go down this one. This one will have nibbles. It has the little bitey things from from this spawner. So just imagine killing a ton of husks and they were like all getting one shot by me at this point. This is the ridiculous potions that I found. I found potions like Poison 5, Wither 5. That one would really hurt. Poison 5, Wither 5. Bad Omen. I could just drink this and have a raid happen. Super easy. We're going to do that. We'll do that now. I wasn't going to do it. We're going to do it now. We're not going to do it right now, but we'll do it. Levitation, instant damage plus health boost, which that makes no sense. But a ton of them. Oh, there's this one. It's just everything. Everything bad. Right there in one bottle. So yeah, that's what happened day 81, which was entirely just flying off in that direction. Just look how far off the asylum is. Yeah, the asylum's all the way over here. So it took like a day to just fly out that direction because it was already late in the day after doing the redstone thing. 2 days of just clearing that thing. Ah! I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. Professional YouTuber, everybody. Oh yeah, and the diamond pile got like 6 blocks bigger. Alright, that's it. And I think I've spent most of this day just explaining what happened. Yep. Alright, we're back on day 85. We're back on day 85. This is the most scuffed part of the whole video. Hopefully. Hopefully this is the most scuffed part of the whole video. Alright, I'm just gonna stand here until I go to sleep.
Okay, since we had that little bit of a technical issue, let's just catch up a little bit. I quickly ran to the Nether to get a little bit of soul sand, just so I could spawn withers at some point eventually, grabbing a bunch of different iron blocks, and then flying around looking for pumpkins so that I could craft up iron golems, because I'm going to want some help. I started by setting up all of the different iron golem spawns, crafted them all into jack-o'-lanterns, and then hired a little bit of help building robots to fight throughout all of the village, enchanting my bow with a cobweb shot to be able to prepare for the raid the next day. And the next morning, using one of those Batoman 5 potions that I had found in the weird asylum, I just drank it and started the raid right away. In all honesty, my golems were putting in work. They were spawn camping some of the waves, and as I killed my first banner captain, I got voluntary exile after a raid had started. Potions are weird like that. Modded can be kind of wild. But as I'm just bowing down the enemies stuck in the ravines, the golems are just, nope, I got it, and they run in and get them. They also apparently killed an evoker that had made its way down to the center of town because I picked up my first evocation robes and my first totem from the raid without even seeing the mob that it had spawned from.
My golems are basically spawn camping them right now. I got a totem, I didn't even see them drop, and they're just, where are they? I only see my golems just doing work.
At one point in time, there was only a few raiders remaining, and I found them just trapped inside of that one house that had tried to kill me at some point. That was fun. The Vex were annoying. I quickly slept in top of one of the houses and then just started getting back at it, being able to tank a hit from a Ravager with only a few points of damage. Protection 4 netherite, that's actually pretty great. Being able to cobweb shot everything while having it burn from flame arrows is honestly pretty busted. And in all honesty, with mobs not being able to move at all, the outcome was pretty easy to figure out. Now that had taken about a day and a half. I dropped off all of the resources that I had collected, ate another golden carrot, grabbed another potion, and figured, you know what? Let's just do it again.
Don't know why drinking this potion gets them so mad, but they hate it. So let's go.
I played this one a lot more fast and loose. A few of the golems had died during the battle, but I was also feeling pretty invincible at this point. With the hero icon up in the top right hand corner, it felt pretty great to be taking on another raid so quickly. Being able to use a trident and cobweb the Ravagers, taking quick naps in the middle of the battle because I'm feeling that confident, and tanking hits from a Vindicator, yeah, this is feeling pretty great. I know I'm a bee origin right now, but if you look at this battlefield, it's covered in cobwebs. You'd swear I was a spider. Even Ravagers that made it to the middle of the town weren't able to kill any villagers as I quickly bugged them down, and then found one Vindicator in the house, and yeah, 2 raids in a row, won. I spent a little bit of time cleaning up, unbarricading everybody, banking the 6 extra totems that I had gotten in a new chest of drawers, and quickly enchanting a few books, trying to find infinity for my bow, and then realizing I should just enchant it with mending instead because cobweb chop is too overpowered to miss, using bottles to quickly repair it. From there, I went back to the village the next morning, did the final little bit of cleaning up and removing the house arrest that I had put some of the villagers under, breaking the waystone and putting it back on the ground, and then just surveying all of the cobweb damage that I had left. It was pretty extensive. All of the saddles were back at the base, and I figured I'm feeling pretty good. Let's continue this invincible streak, brewing up a few potions, and then checking on what I can do with some of the mods for bosses. One of them is a Blackstone Golem that I can summon if I just got a few more Blackstone shards. So I prepared a full 2 stacks of gold blocks down into ingots and got ready to head to the Nether, which I would do in my next life, and we'll see what that one is.
Okay, something else that's down 2 hearts. Yes! I know what this is. I know who I am. Piglin. Merchants. Oh, I know how this works. This is easy enough. I know how this works. I know how this works. Piglin Gundo is here. Piglin Gundo is here. Well, my house is actually pretty dark without the night vision. Huh.
All right, this is feeling pretty great. I know how this one works. Unfortunately now, I can't eat any of the golden food that I had, not even the god apples. So I'm down to steak. I banked all of them, just storing them off almost for posterity at this point, dropping off the strength potions as well before heading to the Nether and then flying over to that bastion. With no brutes remaining, I'm perfectly fine. And I'm a piglin. They wouldn't even attack me anyway. But I made a quick little bartering spot and just dropped a ton of gold into a hole and let them go at it. I spent literally all of day 90 just standing here and doing trades, getting all sorts of different resources, every different type of obsidian, multiple stacks of pearls, quartz, leather, blackstone, and 4 the blackstone shards, which was what I was really here for. I threw away any of the trash and then flew over towards that nether city, figuring that might be a pretty good place for combat. It would make for a nice backdrop for another boss battle. I made a 9x9 platform of blackstone, placing the 4 different shard holders on all of the center, and then throwing the shards in, watching the golem be built right in front of me. And I would love to say right now that this was a really exhilarating and amazing fight, but I think Cobweb Shot is somewhat overpowered. Really, all I did was stood just out of reach. I spawned cobwebs at its feet constantly, and then just bowed it down with spectral arrows doing extra damage, killing the 2 little offspring golems that it made immediately following. From there, I flew back home, flew back through the portal, and accidentally right-clicked with the blackstone heart. I think I shoved it into my chest because I got a couple extra hearts. That's probably a little concerning. But I took all of the different obsidian, banked it with all the redstone, because I think of obsidian as a redstone block, and the next morning flew off to the end to continue my boss killing rampage. I grabbed a few end rods from one of the cities. Thankfully, I had left a waystone basically right here, heading back to the stronghold to get me to the main island super quickly, and then finally collecting the dragon egg, getting the next generation advancement. From there, I built an altar to the eye, which was a layer of obsidian, then a layer of crying obsidian, and then the egg sacrificed for it right on the top. It started emitting all of these particles, but it took maybe 10 minutes for anything to actually happen, to the point where I was actually tabbed out of Minecraft when this thing actually spawned, and I was looking at the wiki just wondering what would happen. Again, being able to just freeze everything and render it basically immobile is pretty amazing. Until I saw a second one of those eyes just casually exit from behind one of the pillars, and I started to get a little freaked out here. This boss could multiply itself. Thankfully, the secondary ones didn't have it nearly as much health, and the beam attacks only did a few hearts of damage. So I was able to out-heal it with just keeping my saturation up some stakes. This was a ton of arrows invested, just over a stack. And what did I get at the end of that? Well, I got a prime eye, which is an ender pearl that I could use infinitely, and I can fill it with ender eyes at a smithing table. That's actually pretty amazing. And then I also got the egg back as well. And then I was famous, which is kind of weird. No one was there to see me kill it, but okay. I planted down the egg, put it back in its trophy position since I no longer needed to use it to spawn anything else, and then spent some time organizing. I had over a stack of golden apples and I couldn't even eat them. That kind of hurt, I'm not gonna lie. I spent a little bit of time harvesting up the sugarcane to make more paper, to make more rockets, and I'm really trying to figure out what fame does. Like, I don't have a clue. I'm not 100% certain, but if I'm feeling famous, I'm feeling invincible. So I went off to the far tower and spawned a wither. Now, this is the fight that I take probably the most damage in out of all the bosses. And if you watch my health bar, you can see how little that actually is. Doing all of these fights so late into the game with full netherite, with extra advancements and enchantments on top of what you have in vanilla, some of these bosses, they feel kind of weak. I think I might have needed to install something to make them a little bit tougher. But the God of Death had nothing on me, as I was able to bow it and then sword it down, completely obliterating it. From there, I used the tower to return home, cooking up a bunch of eel meat, since that was basically all I could eat right now, and then smelting up a bunch of glass to craft a beacon the first thing on day 93. Now, I'm a piglin, so I'm gonna want a gold beacon, obviously. Unfortunately, I just traded out a ton of my gold to get the gilded blackstone shards to be able to actually summon the Blackstone Golem. So what's the next best thing to a gold beacon? Well, a gold-plated beacon. A core of iron and then a bunch of gold around it, and nobody would notice. Nobody would look at that and think that it's not solid gold. That's perfectly legit. So with my base almost perfectly protected at this point, I returned back to spawn, wanting to fully clear out this airship and these towers in order to say that I had accomplished everything I wanted to do. And this is very telling about Minecraft. You had multiple mobs and multiple damage sources are way easier to kill you than a single target, even if it happens to be a boss, Warden probably notwithstanding. I had to bail out of here twice for being at 5 hearts or less, but eventually I was able to break both of the spawners, head down into the hold of the ship, and oh my goodness, that final chest was so worth it. From there, I flew home, crafted up a few golden and diamond blocks to continue to enhance those piles to show off my wealth to no one else who lived on the map, and I was surprised by suddenly having somebody else living on the map. Whoa! Hi. Hi, are we friends? Hi. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second, let me rebuild the wall, because this is really cool. Dragon, can I ride you? Can we be friends? Let me get a saddle. Can I ride this? Can I ride a dragon? Okay, I need to make a dragon saddle. So I need to go kill orcs. You remember when I said not picking up that orc hide a long time ago was really gonna hurt me? Yeah, looking back at the footage, I'm pretty sure it dropped multiple. I might not have needed to have done this at all, but I flew out to a plains biome just searching around trying to find orcs sitting somewhere. I found another wither skull in another graveyard, and then another little dojo which had another god apple sitting in one of the chests. Okay, maybe it's not bad that I had to go do this exploring. I also found a moo bloom, which is gonna make like the 10% of you who voted for that in the mob vote very happy. But near the end of the night, as it was raining, so the YouTube video is gonna look awful, I found an orc and was able to quickly slay them, grabbing one orc hide, finding another a little bit later and getting 2 from them, and then getting jump scared by a creeper, put myself down to 3 hearts and practically almost killed. Could you imagine after killing 4 different bosses, I go out to a creeper? What a chump. That would have been totally embarrassing. When I woke up, it turns out I had slept through the harvest moon, which was a lucky moon. Whoops. Okay, I need to pay a little bit more attention to that kind of thing before flying back towards home. Just checking on the iron farm, grabbing anything that was there, and then warping back to the house, trying to craft a dragon saddle. And they're too small, I think, right now. They went down into the ravine and grew up inside of it, being partially fused inside the blocks. And I'm thinking, oh no, can we not have this dragon just suffocate in the middle of nowhere before I get a chance to potentially ride this thing? So I spent a good chunk of time just pushing it up out of the ground and then going and getting whatever blocks that I could to cover up that ravine. I don't really need to go mining much at this point, so we could just make sure nothing dies there. I started making a little bit of a shrine just for my own gear after this challenge would be completed, so I could store my things, and then when you get the world, if you happen to support me on Patreon, you can check it out and have everything that I had when you start your adventure in this place. The next day, I'm just continuing on that, refining the ceiling, putting up different oak struts to make sure it's all looking nice, making a floor, and then I was finally able to put the saddle on the dragon, and you can hear the excitement in my voice. Oh, wait. No way! I can fly a dragon! Oh no. I got off. I can make it breathe fire. Yes. Oh, you're so cool. Okay, I have a dragon now. Completely satisfied with being the better version of Aragon, I called it a night basically there. The next morning, I thought, let's use the dragon to fully clear out that airship. There was that ring of spawners of skeletons riding phantoms around the airship that I couldn't get to on foot. So I thought, why don't I fly over with the dragon and then it can just hover and I can break the spawners. And I was totally there for that. I got 3 of them before the dragon started taking damage, and I immediately noped out when it took like 2 hits. I did not want to risk this thing dying. That just seems like a really bad idea. So instead, I got it home and did a little bit of trading with my villager to get a shulker box, half full, I think, with arrows. And here's my plan for how this is all going to go down. I want to fully clear out those towers that spawn. Then I want to spawn a wither, then I want to kill that wither, and I want to fully be able to say that I conquered the place that I had started this 100 days at. So that's what I did. I flew back towards spawn, and for the next 2 days, just spent the time fully clearing out everything that I could. Killing any mob, looting any chest, at several points in time getting down to relatively low health. I went to attack one of the phantom chains, and they got me down to just a half a heart at one point. Now, I had a totem on board, so I would have been probably okay, but it's hard to say for certain. But breaking all of those spawners and being able to potentially move in and claim this structure, that felt like the thing I really wanted to do. But before I could do it, there's one thing left. All right, 100 days. Oh my god, I'm a pincushion. 100 days ago, this is where it started. And now, this is where it ends. Let's go. Now I'm fighting this with my Elytrian, flying through the towers. We're not just tanking this in an open field. This is a dogfight. At one point in time, I was standing on one of the roofs just trying to find it, and it flew up directly in front of my face, which was a really dramatic entrance as I had to dive in, trying to find my way into one of the doorways, being able to just bow up towards it. As it's throwing skulls everywhere, eating through parts of the towers, I eventually got it down to its enraged mode, and from there, it was just a sword fight on the bridge, trying not to fall. Once I had killed it, I grabbed the Nether Star, stood on top of the tower, and celebrated, flying around, doing one final check, and knowing that the area was mine. From there, I crafted up my last few diamond blocks, placed them on top of the tower to have the final show off of my wealth, set a barrel down in the shrine on top of the beacon that I had made, and took all of the gear that had gotten me through this 100 days, dropped it off, and headed towards the portal to return back to my Piglin people. And if you want to know what happened after that, we're gonna have to check out Dominion to find out. Because there's a whole new adventure, and in that one, I am far from alone. I hope you all enjoyed the video. New episodes of the Dominion SMP coming very, very soon. New 100 days, if I get a good idea at some point in the future. Take care of yourselves, be good to each other. Bye.